So this is the seventh lecture. In this we'll see Git Fetch, Git Pull and Git Merge. So let us first talk about Git Fetch. So Git Fetch is to sync up your remote and local repository without showing any changes on the working copy. So if I move on to the working directory, you will see that there are two files, file 1, file 2, and there is one readme file. So we'll play with this readme file to explain the feature Git Fetch. I'll go to the remote repository here. There is one readme file on the remote. File 1 and file 2 are not yet committed. Those are not yet pushed on remote, but those are committed on the local. So let us make changes on this readme file. So I have added another line to it and just commit it. Give a proper message that you are committing on the remote. So once we commit the changes on the remote repository, we are now ready to do git fetch. These changes are not on the local yet, but when we do git fetch, so it fetches the changes from the remote. It will give you that it is done, but when you see in the working directory, the changes are not yet reflected. Now the point is how we will be able to see those changes in the working directory. How will we get to know that the changes are there on the local repository? What are the difference between our local repository and the working copy? If we try to use get difference, that won't help us because that is for the difference with the index. If we do get difference minus minus cached, that is only for the changes which are committed. To see the changes which we have fetched, we need to use get difference. We need to give that we want to have difference between master and origin master. Now it will show you the difference between the local repository, the origin master and your master. So all the changes are highlighted here. Now after this, if you do git merge, so it will help you in merging the changes. You need to first close the file. Until you close the file, those won't be merged. So just close it from here. So it shows that one file is changed and there is one insertion. Let us open this readme file now. So the changes are reflected on my working copy as well. So that means we need to git fetch and then git merge. There is another command named as git pull that do both the steps in one command. So ideally git fetch plus git merge is equal to git pull. Now we'll see what git pull is. So it makes the changes in your local repository as well as it makes the changes in the working directory. So let us make another change on the remote, and this time we won't be using git fetch, we'll be directly using git pull. So I'm adding another line here. Give a proper message to this commit. The changes are updated on remote. Now use git pull. First of all, let us see if the changes are there on local or not. It is not there on the working directory, so use git pull, enter. So changes have been pulled, and if you see here, again it is giving the error because the file is open. Now you see that one file is changed and there is one insertion. So whatever we have done in git fetch and git merge is done using git pull in one command. Now we'll talk about Git Push. If you want to make your local repository in sync with remote repository and you want to push your changes that you have done on your local repository available to all the other user by pushing it on remote repository, you need to use Git Push. So in this example, file 1 and file 2 were committed on my local, but these files were not present on the remote. So if I use Git Push, those all the changes would be pushed on remote repository. So you see it is resolving deltas. It is saying that 100% done. Now if I go to the directory and if I refresh it, I'll see that file 1 and file 2 are present here. Now I make some changes in file 1. I'm updating file 1. I'm saving it. If I check using git status, this is changes which I have not yet committed. So for that, use git add file 1 and then git commit -m, give a proper message to it. Changes have been staged, and once we stage it, we need to push it, git push. So this is how we take our changes from working copy to the remote repository. But we need to understand one thing. Let's say I'm working on a working copy and before I push, someone else has pushed on the remote. So just to replicate this example, what we'll be doing is we will be updating something on the remote repository itself. Make the changes on the remote and give a proper commit message. These may be the changes that is done by your other team members, which they have done on their local and then pushed, but you are not aware of their copies because you never pulled the code from remote repository. So we see here, this is our local file. There is a development that is done by someone else on remote, and we are also touching the same file. We have done our own changes. Now there is a conflict. We have done something else, and someone else has written something else in that line. So if we try to do git pull, it will give us an error that the changes that you have done on your local would be overwritten by this. So first of all, you need to either commit them or you need to either stash the changes before you merge. So let us commit the changes. Git add file 1, enter, git commit -m, proper message that we are committing on the local. Now again these changes are staged on local and there is a different code on remote. This time it is able to merge them but with a conflict. Now the conflict is that on head it is present as updated file change on remote, and there is a head which says that change is done on local. So the file is actually not merged, it is showing both the changes. That is why it give a message that merge has been failed. Now you need to manually resolve the conflict and you need to commit the changes and push them. So we are adding it, we are then committing it with a proper message that this is the merge that we have done. And now if we try to do now if we try to do git pull, Now it will say that the code is up to date. So now you are ready to push. Now remote would be updated with the changes that you have confirmed that this is the right piece of code. So on the remote, if you refresh and if you open the file, you can see here with the time that there is a commit made recently. If you open the file, you will see the difference. So that's all about Git Push, Pull, and Git Fetch and Merge. Thank you for being with us. Have a nice day.